How about that, huh? That was actually the first time I actually tried the LT1000 with the bagger on there. It runs great. The only bad thing I would have to say is that what I did was, prior to the time lapse, right, I actually took my leaf blower and I blew all the leaves from everywhere, you know, even the street, right, around the curb area, onto the lawn, you know. So I blew it in between the bushes, you know, my hedges and all that stuff. All the leaves were in there, so I had to blow them all there. So we had a big mound, big mounds of leaves right there in the middle of the lawn, you know. And so you had to go really slow when you got to that area, because it'll kind of bunch up and it'll get jammed up in the chute, you know. So you have to go really slow. And as you saw, it is a twin hard bagger, right? The bins, but they're so small and narrow. They're actually way smaller than my Murray with the bagger. So as you saw, I had to stop 3 times to unbag. It has a little swirly plastic thing, like a fan thing, right? If you see it spinning, it means it's clear. But when you start seeing it slowing down and then stop, right, it means that your chute is jammed full of leaves. And then you're going to have to stop and clear the chute, which is a pain in the butt, you know? So that's the only bad thing that I'd say, is that if you guys are ever thinking about getting a bagger, right, it's probably better to get the big 3-bin bagger, you know, the big one, you know, so you don't have to, you know, stop all the time and then, you know, bag them up, you know. So as you saw, 2 full bins of leaves packed up 1 plastic bag. So I have 3 big plastic bags full of leaves. But my lawn looks great. The engine, it's a 16 horsepower Kohler Command, runs great. The PTO runs great. The deck that I made, that was the deck that I made 2 decks into 1, right? Works great. I didn't have any issues. It ran out of gas one time, but now I understand why you need lights, because it got from daylight to darkness really quick. This only took me like 20 minutes, you know. I guess I was right in that period where it's daylight and then all of a sudden the sun goes past the horizon, so then it's gone, you know. So that's why you need lights, you know. That one, actually, I don't have the lights for that. I should put them on. Anyway, so that was really cool. Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. So as you saw from my video, sucking up leaves at night, you know, that was kind of fun. So I had to blow out all the leaves. I mean, they're stuck in the bushes here, but behind it, I, you know, took my Echo leaf blower and blew all the leaves out of that area, and that's the biggest pain in the ass, is to hug the wall and blow all that crap out onto the lawn. Not to mention the amount of leaves that were on the street blew it onto my lawn. I know. Why do I do that? Well, because I don't want to get the leaves on the street, you know. I don't want to have to rake those, you know. So I blow them on my lawn and I'll suck them up at the same time. So that LT1000 with the bagger really worked well, surprisingly. I mean, I like it a lot. And did the job. I did have to get off 3 times, as you saw. But my lawn looks great for the next couple of days until the leaves all come back down again. And I got to do it all over again in a few days, you know. But anyway, today is a gorgeous day in Long Island. And this is my Bilt 31cc leaf blower that I got from 5-Speed Ash. As you know, it does run and start up, and it needs a carburetor adjustment, you know. And while that carburetor I've seen 100 times, you know, I always thought it was missing the low screw on it. It was only a high screw. And then my friend Doug Leap over at Doug's Mowers and Blowers in Altoona, Pennsylvania, as well as 5-Speed Ash, told me that this model only has 1 screw. Well, that makes things easy, doesn't it? However, you know, when I adjust it, it doesn't seem to do anything, you know. An issue with this, though, is that it leaks gas, and that bothers me. So while I have to go to my mother's house pretty soon to go and do her lawn, I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks, so I'm sure her lawn is filled with leaves too. So I'm going to go over there with the Black Beauty with the double bagger
And that bagger is better than my bagger here at the LT1000 because it's bigger. This LT1000 bagger, they're narrow bins. They're hard bins, but they're narrow. My Murray, the Black Beauty, that has much bigger bins. Even though it's only a twin bagger, still much bigger. But anyway, I was going to sell this as is for $35, but when I listed it, I didn't know about the gas leak. So I'm not going to sell it to anybody because of the gas leak. I got to fix it, you know. So I'm going to take a look at why this leaks gas. It's already leaked all the gas out, so there's no gas in there. So what I'm going to do is, it's funny because this is actually the same setup as my Ryobi rototiller. Oh, and by the way, one of my followers on Instagram, Riley Sint, told me, also Bergen's Garage, those two guys told me, is like, well, you know what, it's common on these for the needle valve to get stuck, right? Or the diaphragm is just so worn that it's no longer pushing or pulling, however that works, and gas just completely free flows, you know, it gets stuck. So I reluctantly ordered a carburetor for it. It was $10.50. I mean, it's pretty cheap and stuff, you know, but figure I'd get a carburetor just to see if that would fix the issue with that not starting, you know, easily, because everything else works on it. So, and a rototiller cultivator, it's not an everyday item, you know, so that might sell pretty well, you know what I mean? And it's kind of cool to have it anyway, you know. Wow, you have a rototiller cultivator? For what? I go, I don't know, I just have it, you know. So I'm going to first take this cover off and just take the carburetor out, or should I put gas in it and try to figure out where the leak is? That would make a mess, but that would help me find out where the leak is. I think I should do that. So I'll put gas in it right now, and we'll find out where that leak is coming from. But I hope it's not the fuel lines, because I hate working on fuel lines. So I just put gas in here, and I wiped down the area just so that I could see the leak. Okay, if you look right here, right there, I just wiped it, all right? And you can start seeing that there's a little bit of moisture coming out of that area right there. Slowly. So to get a better look, I'm going to remove this cover here, which will expose the, at least have access to the gas tank and expose the carburetor. So it's 4 Torx. You could also use flathead. But honestly, who ever uses flathead? Oh, look at that. Look at that leakage over here. Bad. Just putting it on the side of the Henry, why are you using a poncho? Not a poncho, what do they call these? What do they call these? You know, they're throws, but they're more like the Mexican throw, area rug, whatever. I forget what it's called. Some people wear them like ponchos. Alright, so there's leakage going on. You can see carburetor is exposed. This line is not even connected. Duh. Looks like a new line too. And that's the problem, is that the line is too thick for this, the fuel line is too thick. Has to be thinner. It's barely on the nozzle. That's the reason. I think Nick, you did this, didn't you? You told me you replaced the lines. Well, this is not even sitting on there because it's too the hose width is too wide, so it just slips right off there. Man, if that's the only issue, that'd be great. So
while the hose itself, this is the one that I got, the old one that's leaking, right? Look at the diameter of the inner hole. See how big that is? While this line looks like the same exact width, right? It's thicker around the outside, so that the inner diameter is much more smaller than this one. So that could be deceiving. It's that, oh, you know, I'm getting the right size, right? But look at the inner diameter. The inner diameter here is much more smaller and fits a lot more snug. So I just measured the same length hose line as that one and put it on over here. And this holds nice and snugly. Is that a word, snugly? Slip it through here and put it and connect it onto the knipple. Not nipple, knipple. Crawling on the floor. So there was no doubt that that was the issue. I wanted to give you guys a good look at how this goes. So this is now on here really well. You can pull on it and stuff and it won't come off. Before you could just like, if you put a sail on there and you blew on it, it would have fallen off. So this goes into a hole right there. And comes out of there and attaches to this nipple that goes to the tank. And those lines don't look great, but they're holding up. Primer bulb looks good too. So I need to adjust this carburetor, and I figured we have gas in it and there's no longer a leak. I'm going to fire it up and try to adjust it. Unfortunately, I think the other lines don't have a bad leak, but they're so worn and thin that it's starting to, you know, leak a little from the holes in the gas tank. So it needs to be thicker. A brand new line would probably be better. Pain in the butt because I'd probably have to remove all the covers and stuff. I have 3 of these fuel adjustment screws, and I believe this one fits because I felt it turning. So I'll have this ready to do. But I just primed it a few times. It's not leaking here anymore, but there's, you know, some trickling going on over here. Seems to be working okay. So let's give her a start, shall we? So it doesn't run except on half. Almost the same problem as that rototiller.
difficult to figure it out because it's not at full run, you know. Difficult to do when it only runs on choke. I'll have to mess with this for a while. Taking the carburetor off. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good too, but there's no mesh thing here. Should be a mesh thing. I'll take off the other side and check out the diaphragm. Took this all apart, blew out the holes. You see right there, there's like a little dent. This controls the amount of fuel that is let in and out. It's all very precise. Because it's been worn so much, see the little dimple in there? It's not really pushing it all the way down because of the space left by the dimple now. So this thing has to push. So if I just bend this diaphragm just a tad bit so that there's more of a push, it'll compensate for the dimple in there, I'm thinking. If not, $10 carburetor ought to fix that, you know? And that's the thing, you know, I don't even know why I'm going through all this trouble. I just get another carburetor for $10. But sometimes if I clean it out, I wanted to see if there was any gum in it, and there's none. So, choke, middle, and run. It was only running on choke. So I had the tool, and it was all turned in all the way. So I backed it out like 3 turns, started running like a champ. carburetor really wasn't dirty at all. It just needed the adjustment screw to be adjusted and to replace one fuel line that had a smaller inner diameter. That's all it took. This thing's ready to go. I'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers. Since I've got some extra time, my pull-on here has a bad tire, actually two bad front tires. I have an old inner tube that I just repaired, and it seems to be holding air pretty well. I'm going to see if I can shove that inner tube in here. At least this way this won't leak, you know what I mean? Don't lose these E-clips and the washer. Let's see how easy it is for me to break this bead. Sometimes it's not a walk in the park, you know. Sometimes if you just step on it, it might. Put a crowbar under here. Ooh, Coolidge. See that? I can stuff a tire in there. Sorry, I meant inner tube. So, this is a repaired inner tube. It's held air for quite a while. More like a few months. I just put this tape on here to hold it together while the glue dried. And remove the air by taking this valve off to flatten it. Once you flatten it, you can stuff it in there. Get all the air out of there. Like that. Put the valve back in. Seems a little smaller. If I could fit it through, it'd be fine. Gotta cut this valve. I'm gonna try to stuff that in there. That was pretty fast. I just wonder that if while I'm putting it in there, my finger touches this, pulls the patch out, you know what I mean? It happens. This is the curved kind. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Cool. So now I'll put it on and We'll see if this lasts a day. Washer back on. Actually, you know what? There's two washers, so there's probably one back here. Oh, the one back here is already there. One back here has got to be the small one, which is this one. Because it fits in there. Front one had two as spacers. Yep. This could fit two. As long as you can get the E-clip on there nice and snugly. Let's see if that inner tube holds. I've had that inner tube for like 6 months. I fixed it, pumped it up, let it sit there for like months to see if any air would come out of it. Seems to hold the air pretty well. However, you know, moving it and stuffing it into the tire, you could have pulled a patch out or something. You just never know with inner tubes, especially repaired inner tubes. But inner tubes have become quite expensive, actually. The rear inner tubes are like almost $18 for just one, you know. So that's enough wrenching for this morning over at my house. I'm off to my mom's house now, where I gotta go see her leaf situation. You know. See you guys. Clean up in Queens. And I've got a couple of cinder blocks there for my aerator at home. Sucked it up pretty nicely. Hey guys, support my channel, buy a sticker. Also follow me on Instagram at Mowers Blowers. Check out my website, mowersblowers.com. See you guys on my next vlog. Have a great day. Hey guys, Boba and I want to thank you for all the support of Mowers and Blowers. If you'd like, make a short video clip like these, and I'll put it as an outro in my future videos.
See you next time on Mowers and Blowers.